If you ain't a Gator, you must be Gator bait. If you ain't a Gator, you must be Gator bait.
Welcome back and welcome in. Allie will be here in just a minute. She's running a little behind, but that's all right. Let me see. Hang on just a second. Let me see. All right. Let me see. Comments. How we doing, everybody? How we doing? How we doing? How we doing? Can y'all hear me good? Let me see. Let me listen. How we doing? How we doing? How we doing? There we go. There we go. Spot the ball, baby. Let's go. I'm ready. I am ready. DJ Lagway out there slinging the ball around. Everything's going to be all right with Dallas Wilson. We're going to get into some of these tonight. It's going to be all right. That's why we recruit depth. I know that we ain't got talent out there like Dallas Wilson, but still, it's going to be all right. Appreciate it, bro. Appreciate it. We got a new mic this week. Y'all throw me some questions while we're waiting on Allie to get here. Oh, speaking of, let's get her in here.
Hello, how are ya?
All right. Let's see. Why can't I hear anything? Give me just a second. I don't know why I can't hear anything right now. I don't know what's going on. I need to throw some headphones. One second.
Okay.
Sorry about this, everybody. I apologize, Allie. It's a new
You're
mic.
good.
And I have to plug it into this back thing here.
You're good. No worries.
Okay. Okay, can you hear me?
I can hear you. I've been able to hear you, though. So can you hear me is the question.
I don't know. I can't hear you. I can hear myself.
Weird.
What is going on?
My mic is on. Are you seeing levels from my mic?
There we go.
You
I got it. Sorry, I have a new mic and I couldn't hear anything. All right, let me see. Okay, how we doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Sorry, everybody, about the delay here. Trying to get everything adjusted now. Now I'm all out of whack. Sorry about that. There we go.
Good.
Okay, everybody. This is Allie from A Peek Inside of Florida Gators Football. The one, the only. How we doing tonight? Doing good?
Doing good. It's meet the teacher tomorrow. So it's like, constant chaos in my house. I have 5 children. I'm the PTA president at our school, so it's just,
Yeah, you're a busy gal lately.
yes.
And Florida Gators football
Florida
on the
Gators
brink.
football, thank God it's about to start. I'm so excited.
So ready for it. Even though I feel like if you have any type of account on X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it, it is absolutely insane right now in madness because of Dallas Wilson.
Yeah, I feel like we always look for things. I talked to somebody last night about this. I was saying, camp, there's nothing good that comes out of camp news related, right? We don't believe anything coaches say about, oh, so and so's come so far or whatever. So we take that all with a grain of salt, and then we all freak out about injuries. So it's not, I don't know, it's just an anxiety inducing period of time for fans, I think.
Right. Good thing is that some of our receivers got out of the no contact jersey, so that's a beautiful thing.
That is a good thing for sure.
So we're going to start this off. I ask all the guests this, but you actually have a special rule with this, just so you know.
Okay.
So we're going to start it off with, who is your favorite Gator of all time, but you can't pick your husband?
I can't pick my husband.
You cannot pick your husband.
So a 3-way tie between my grandfather, my father, and my brother. Can I pick that?
Oh, okay. No family. No family. That's crazy. Okay. All of them are Gators.
They are. They all played for Florida. Jack Jackson, probably.
Okay.
Running back in the mid-90s.
Okay.
There was a Tennessee game where I caught his wristband. I was probably 9 years old, maybe.
Okay.
Kept it. It's somewhere in this house, actually. But he ended up playing for the Chicago Bears. And I think that was when I really first started to kind of remember stats and really get into it more than just it was on and I was a kid, so I was watching it kind of thing.
Okay, so that kind of falls in the next question: is you're born into being a Gator?
I was, yes.
So go ahead.
In the blood.
Yeah, I said to Sheldon, I think that my dad said "Go Gators" to me before he ever said "I love you." So it's just born into this. But yeah, I love hearing the picks of who everybody's favorite Gator is. Mm-hmm. Cody the other day, he had a different one with Jonathan Grenard, and so me and Shelton are about the same age, so we kind of had the same players, and so it's fun to see.
Who is yours? Who is your?
Mine's Reggie Nelson. Always has been.
You make me feel so old.
Yeah, I was around for the Q1 Ratliff. I mean, I don't know if that helps any, but I'm only 32, but it's been, I swear, since I could start even paying any type of attention, I've been watching it.
So I'm 40, so 8 years older than you. But Reggie, played with Eric, my husband, and so we were, we were in college together. But Kiwan is one of the reasons Eric wanted to be a Gator. Eric grew up a Florida fan. His parents went to Florida, but he loved watching Kiwan play.
That's awesome. So what position did your family play? You said your dad, your grandfather?
Yeah, my grandfather was a running back, fullback. He also ran track at Florida. And my dad was a safety and actually played some corner too. And then my brother Scott came in as a safety, switched to linebacker, and actually finished his career as a fullback at Florida.
That's amazing. That's really awesome. I love to hear that. That's really we got nobody. I mean, my great grandfather went to UF, didn't play, but he went there, studied medicine, and so it's cool to see the connections on how everybody got into this fandom and this. I don't even know what you call it. This madhouse of.
So the week that I was born, Florida tied LSU. This would have been the 1984 season, and then won every game after that. So my entire life, my dad has told me I was the good luck charm for the 1984 SEC championship that clearly we don't get to count anymore. But it's my dad. There's 7 of us. I'm the oldest of 7 kids, and my parents would take us to every opener our whole life, starting at a year old. So my dad would carry, it would be before some of us could walk kind of thing. We would all go into the stadium and watch the games. And back then, I mean, you can drink in the stadium now, but back then you could, and there was that lapse where you couldn't. And I can remember this time, one of my brothers was 3, kicked over a beer, the person next to us. We we're just a complete chaotic mess bringing this many kids into the stadium. But my dad felt like it was really important because we would grow up loving the game and loving Florida, and it clearly worked.
Right. Yeah. I think that's how it just ends up. I feel like myself, my cousin, we all went to the games. My cousin and I, our very first game was Florida versus Marshall. And then this year, I'm actually taking my son to the LIU game, and that'll be his first game. So it's fun to see, just the whole dynamic of,
How old is your
again,
son?
my son's 11.
11. Okay.
Yeah.
So we have 10-year-old daughters and 5-year-old daughters. They're twins. And then we adopted my nephew about 18 months ago. He's 15. So we bring them all pretty much every game. There's every once in a while we're like, okay, this is going to be an adults only game. Like Texas this year will be an adults only game.
100%.
But watching it through your kids' eyes is amazing. It is the coolest experience.
Yeah, he's actually in the comments right now. His name's Logan. So his two boys and then my son, they're all three going to their first game in the Swamp. Him and I went to our first game in the Swamp. And so I keep telling my son, I keep showing him videos, and I'm like, just wait till you see, the Tom Petty's being sung in the Swamp at night. Like, I mean, it's just,
oh my gosh, nothing better than at night. That's
nothing at all.
Experience.
So now I got to ask, I asked your favorite player of all time. Who is your favorite player on this current roster?
On this current roster, that is a great question. I really like Jake Slaughter, which I'm sure is probably a pretty, common answer. I'm really, really excited to see what VB3 does. Vernell his dad played with Eric, which again makes me feel incredibly old. But I remember him being really little on the practice field. And so that's like very much a full circle moment. So I'm excited to see that. I'm excited to see Miles Graham, same concept. We knew Ernest from playing days. And so it's really, really neat to watch kind of the full circle. And I'm a big Lagway fan. I think I've interviewed him a few times. I text back and forth with his high school coach semi-regularly. And I just think that he is so down to earth, so humble, and so talented that I'm really excited to see where he takes us and that he stays healthy.
See, I think that he will. I think that I'm a firm believer in that when something just keeps being talked, like then it starts getting his head where like I've always been learning to just be fluent. Everything you do, be fluent with it. And if you kind of tense up, that causes more injuries than, than if you just go full bore into it. Sure. And so I feel like with him, almost like he has this, I mean, he's a freshman, so he's really young.
Yeah.
So I think he knows like this humongous fan base of, just a rowdy group that every time that he does anything, I think all of us will hold our breath. But the problem is, I think that we need to just let him go do what he's going to do. Yeah. Stop putting the stress on like, don't get injured, because it's just doing too much to him. Just let him go do what he's going to do. I mean, he's a big boy, and he fought through injury last year. So, And
I think that needs to be a top-down strategy. I am so interested to see when he takes the field, if there are any handcuffs from the coaching staff about like, hey, we don't want you to take off, unless X, Y, and Z happens, because I agree. I think that you get the absolute best out of players like him that are such a dual threat, that have so many weapons they bring to the table, by just letting them be them instead of, trying to restrain or prevent injury. And I think that, we saw that some with Anthony Richardson when he was here, both under Napier and under Mullen, where it was like, maybe let's not do X, Y, Z, or let's, and I think that was to his detriment. So I'm kind of hoping that a lesson was learned from that, and that the reins are removed and DJ gets to just be DJ.
Right. Yeah. That's a good, I see with AR, I have a belief, and I could be completely wrong, but every time I watched him out on the field, I kept saying, I was like, I feel like he's holding back. I feel like he kind of knew. He just got injured tonight. I don't know if you saw that.
I saw that, his finger or something.
Yeah. And I just feel like he kind of knew. Yeah. I mean, even leading back to high school, he was injured. He had injuries that he dealt with. Yeah. Whereas like, and I may be wrong, and correct me if I am, but with Lagway, I don't think he got hurt his whole senior year of high school, right? I don't think he dealt with anything.
I think he didn't play in whatever all-star game he was in because of injury, but I don't think it affected his actual high school season. It was after that. I have been told, he's probably going to kill me, by Shane Matthews, that he feels like he should maybe do less in the weight room. And that he kind of alluded, so I don't know this to be 100% truthful. I haven't even said this on my own show actually, but that he believes that the most recent strain was due to actually over exerting himself in the weight room, not something that actually happened on the field. And so it is his kind of stance that was like, he just needs to not try and beat Tim in the weight
Right.
room. And I don't know if that's really the case or not, but it's an interesting thought. And I saw some people on X saying that if former players are saying and thinking this, then that's on the strength and conditioning staff. And maybe it is, but I am kind of the mindset that, like, how are you going to get this superstar guy who's competitive and whatever to dial it back? That's way easier said than done. He wants to compete. He wants to be the best. He is competing every single minute that he's in the weight room. So I could see where that would be a challenge for a staff, but maybe it is long-term interest to just, chill a tiny bit.
Yeah, I said that he needs to do some yoga, honestly.
Yeah, that would be a good do that.
Do something to get the stretching right. But I think you're right, and I think that David Soderquist actually said this. I think I watched it today actually, where he said that, and what he said is correct, is where you have your team workouts.
Mm-hmm.
And it used to be that you did your team workouts, and yeah, of course, like there's a little bit extra, but then you were done, but now I feel like everybody sees on Instagram, YouTube, and whatever the case may be, that, oh, well, such and such quarterback's out there throwing 150 more passes than I am after practice.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So you get in that mindset of like, oh, I should do that.
Yeah.
And it causes a strain because you need to rest. Yeah. You need to heal.
Your body needs to rest.
Right. And, and he's put on even more weight from what I just saw, like that he's put on extra weight in this off season. Yeah. So your body needs to be accustomed to that.
Yeah.
And that's what kind of worries me.
This is a hard and violent sport. I mean, Eric was a punter, but there are still some days that, like, he is sore. My dad had multiple back surgeries after his playing career was done. My brother deals with injuries. Like, it is like getting in a car accident over and over and over and over again. And I think you're right. I think we live in this social media world where, like, we want everything out there and we want to make sure we're doing absolutely everything we positively can. And I admire the drive, but I almost think the long term, it is better for you if you allow yourself to heal. Don't compare yourself to what somebody else is doing. And, I don't know, ease up a tiny bit.
Right. And see, that's what it makes me wonder kind of like about the Dallas Wilson thing. Cause so one of my buddies, his wife is in the medical field, and I asked her today, I said, why would they put a hard cast on his leg? Mm-hmm. What is the reason? Because in my brain, I'm like, oh, he's got a hard cast. Like, that's really bad. Like, instantly it clicks, and I'm like, that's terrible. But then she made a comment that also, like, I feel like it really eased my mind and calmed me down, where she said a couple of things. Number one, they put a hard cast on there because say it's a minor hairline fracture, so that if he steps weird or something with like a soft cast on, so it doesn't make it worse. But the other thing is, we've all been young before. And the thing is, we've all been knuckleheads before. And who knows if what he's doing is like, he's got a soft cast on or a boot on, and his first thought is like, oh, I'm back at the apartment, let me just take it off. And he's walking around and it gets worse. So
that's exactly what I heard, is that he had a soft cast that he kept taking off. And that's why the hard cast is on. So, I mean, I didn't hear that from Dallas Wilson's mouth, so I don't know that 100% certainty, but I did hear it from somebody who would know. And so I think it is precautionary, and it's like you're 18 and you're an idiot. So we're not going to give you the opportunity to screw this up for yourself. You're wearing a hard cast for a couple weeks.
Right.
I don't think it's a huge deal. And I don't think, when you're probably too young, so you probably don't remember this, but when Urban Meyer was at Florida, I want to say it was maybe 2007, 2008, there was a summer where 12 or 13 guys tore their ACL. And so, when you have that many of the same injury, it is time to look inward and figure out like what the problem is. So Urban actually banned running stadiums for the rest of his time at UF after that summer happened, because they were kind of thinking that there might be some correlation between the stadium running and the tear on the ACL. I don't know if it's just the strain it puts on it. I don't know exactly how they came to that conclusion, but that's the conclusion they came to, that it potentially was linked to stadium running, so they stopped it. And I think I look at what we're dealing with right now, and they're all different kinds of minor injuries. So I don't think it's something you can point to and say, well, if they were to just stop doing XYZ, this wouldn't be happening. I think for the
Right.
most part, these are just pretty common football injuries.
Yeah, and it's so hard, like I said, because you get on to Twitter or X. I'll forever call it Twitter.
I know. Same.
You get on there, and I swear, like I've said this a couple episodes ago on my thing here, that if you have any type of anxiety and you're a Gators fan, don't get on there, because if you read it, it's over for you.
1,000%.
Like you believe the season's over, and it ends up being something. Same thing with Lagway. I mean, there's people that were like, just throw away the season.
Yep.
And now here we are, watching him.
And he's fine. Yeah.
Yeah. He's moving. I mean, he's kind of bouncing around. I'm like, okay, he's easing back into it.
Yep.
And then I'm going to guess by next week, he's going to be running 11 on 11s.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
anxiety sells, stress sells. I mean, I unfortunately, we don't live in a time where people want to read the good news. The things that get the retweets, that get the clicks, that get whatever are the negative stuff. And so that's why we see it all over there. And I think Florida lost their quarterback 2 seasons in a row.
Right.
And I mean, last year we lost 2 quarterbacks essentially for at least part of the time. And so I do think Florida fans have a little PTSD from that. I mean, injuries are common, but it is not every day that you lose your starting quarterback. And that happened twice. So I can understand from that standpoint why you're like, gosh, I just want a season where we don't suffer such massive, injuries, and we can see what this team is really made of. Because if Lagway goes down, how do we judge this team? In the NIL era, there's no phenomenal backup quarterbacks. Lagway is a little bit of a different situation because he was a true freshman, and Graham was basically there to kind of help groom him a little bit. And so that was a little bit of a unique situation. But everywhere across the country, there's such a drop off from 1 to 2, because if the competition was neck and neck, whoever didn't get it would just take more money to go elsewhere,
Right.
And so it's not a problem unique to Florida by any means, but Florida fans are stressed because of what we've just recently witnessed.
Right. And I mean, that goes even over to LSU. I was seeing like some rumblings that Nuss.
Yeah.
Right. And I guess that it's not true. I don't know, but I did see that there was like a scare that he tore an ACL. And I'm like, what are they going to do? And so, I mean, not all of us can be Ole Miss with 27 quarterbacks on the roster somehow, but I just feel like, and just going into like with the O-line this year, in the running backs that we have back there, I personally do not feel like we are going to I don't think that Lagway is going to have to run a lot. I mean, I almost feel like he's going to have like like a Patrick Mahomes effect where, okay, it's 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4, and they drop back to pass, it's not open, he takes off and runs. Okay, fine. He can do that. But I get that's a part of his game, but I feel like he's more like when Tebow was there, everyone knew, okay, he's going to snap that ball. He's going to look for that 1 to 2 read. If it's not there, he is taking off.
Yeah.
And he's going to run through everybody on the field.
Yeah.
Lagway is fast, but I feel like he's definitely like that pass first,
He's such a better passer than Tim was. And no offense to Tim, who was an incredible college quarterback, but it is not this. It is essentially DJ Lagway is the throwing ability of Chris Leak, paired with the running ability of Tim Tebow. Right. And Tim and Leak had some pretty good running backs. I think about Deshaun Wynn. Deshaun Wynn was an incredible, just bruising running back. Obviously later on, Tim had Rainey and Demps and stuff, but nobody had the stable that Florida has right now. And we have probably the best offensive line we've had since maybe that 2008 national championship team. I really can't think of a time where we had a great offensive line since then. That's been Florida's weakness for a very long time.
Right. And I think that's the biggest thing, is that he's not going to have to run for his life. Like if he can stand back there, I mean, said this a while ago. Like, if you can have him, if he has 500 rushing yards on the season, if not less, I'm fine with that. And we're still winning.
Yeah.
Let him stay back there. Let him throw the ball. He's got such a beautiful pass that I'm like, he doesn't have to do it. Like you just said, with that, I mean, there are stallions back there behind him.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, and it's deep. Before Trayon Webb getting, he just had to have that surgery.
Yeah.
I didn't know who was going to be the third running back, being him or Katie Daniels.
Clark has had a good season.
Clark is huge. Yeah, I mean,
Lewis. So yeah, I mean, there's an embarrassment of riches, and honestly, the fact that none of them have transferred out is somewhat, astounding too, and impressive.
right.
But that is not, running back room is not a room that I am concerned about at all, even if there are a couple of injuries. And it seems like we're going to have Webb back for the start of SEC play, which that's the important stuff anyway. And you get into October and November where you're just beating the crap out of each other week in and week out. And that's where that depth is going to come in handy.
Yeah. And I think the reason they don't transfer is because, and this is a kudos, he doesn't get a lot of kudos for his play calling, but Billy dialing up a run game, he knows how to spread the ball. Yeah. I think that a lot of people, Etienne needs the ball more, this and that. But I think it kind of showed when Etienne went to Georgia that I was like, maybe Billy kind of knew what he was talking about.
Doing.
Yeah.
And running back by committee saves all of their bodies. They're going to all have longer NFL careers because they split the work while in college, and they all get the accolades, right? We give the flowers to all of them because anyone at any given moment can pop off and have, a top 10 ESPN moment.
Right.
But I think it's such a smart way to use running backs. And I think you're right. I think that's why they stick around, because it is going to benefit them in the long run. And Florida's done a good enough job opening their eyes to that.
Right. Because you look at Ashton Genty, I feel like it's nice to have a running back like that, but I just don't see him like being this top guy in the NFL for too long, because I'm like, he got just drugged through the mud out there. Yeah. So, question for you about the play calling, see, because you have more of an insight than I do. What is it looking like with Russ Callaway calling plays? Or do you not know? Or
so, I mean, I think I don't know this for a fact. I think that Russ is who scripted the first series of each game last year, which I think was incredibly successful. I think essentially though, when we're kind of in crunch time, when it's third down and we're not sure what to do, I think it's Billy's call. And that has always been a little bit of my gripe, is that I think it's very difficult on the field level, worrying about all of the other aspects of being a head coach, to have a great feel for what you should call in tight situations. And so I do question some of the judgment at times, play calling wise. I actually like the system overall, but I'll be interested to see if Russ gets more critical moments, if that makes sense. I think he's been allowed to do more and more, but I don't know that it's been in the moments where it's a make or break decision. And those would be where I'd love to see the handcuffs come off a little bit of him.
Right. I looked up Russ Callaway, and I see that he's a very pass heavy guy. And so if that is the plan, where you're going to take Russ on this side with his passing, and then you got Billy on this side with the running, and you put them together, I think that I think it could be a great dynamic. But my thing that it makes my blood boil, because I was there for the Florida Ole Miss game. What frustrated me is going into halftime, there's a minute 50 seconds left, maybe even a little bit more than that, and we run the clock out. And I'm like, why are we not trying to go for 3? Why are we not even trying to get a field goal? We got a great field goal kicker. At least give him a range to where I don't care if he tries a 60-yarder. I'd rather him try something.
Yeah, there's a lot of stats kept on the middle 8, which would be obviously the 4 minutes going into halftime and the 4 minutes going out of halftime. And Florida's not great at that middle portion, but when you dominate the middle eight, your statistical chances of winning a football game increase exponentially. And so, when you look at pieces of your game plan and what you should work on, I'm hoping that middle eight is something that in the off season they looked at. Billy always talks about being so analytical, and if that is the case, then that should be a time. That's a room for improvement. Look
Right.
at the middle eight, figure out what you can do differently. You should come out of the locker room with a sense of urgency. You should go into the locker room with a sense of urgency. In the SEC, you should never leave any points on the table. And so this we'll just kind of mosey on in to halftime when there is an opportunity for more, you have to take that. And so that's one of the things I'm interested in seeing. And then the other thing is there's an article that came out, can't remember who wrote it, probably in maybe about April, that talked about, it was when the coaching clinic happened that UF put on. And this writer went to the coaches clinic and they basically had the call sheet from practice and they went over what they spend time on and why. And essentially they talked about that they spend the most amount of time and energy on the plays that are successful for them, which I guess in theory makes sense when you say it out loud. But what the problem is that they're not as successful with their third down and critical plays, but they're practicing less. They're practicing them less because they're not the plays that they find that they have the most success with. And I hope that that's one of those things that they could be introspective about. It's like, oh, you have a great success rate for the plays that you practice more than average. Maybe we should practice the plays we haven't been successful at a more than average clip, and they will become successful. So little things like that are the parts of this coaching regime that has me concerned. But I do feel like Billy talks about being a student of the game. He talks about being an analytic. And so hopefully, every summer they go back to the drawing board and they find things they can improve on. And I'm hopeful that maybe this season, those are things that we've grown on a little bit.
Right. Yeah. I think that's the third down stuff. It's another one. I don't understand. I guess I just don't understand handing the ball off and I get it. Like there's times that we've had where Montrell Johnson, got a first down and say 3rd and 13, 3rd and 14, whatever, where it's like, okay, but the percentage of that happening multiple times, I'm like, you're almost giving in to the fact that we're just trying to get 4 or 5 yards and punt the ball and knock on punters. But I'm just like, I don't want to see my punter out there. I don't want to see him, and even, I just heard Eric say that, talking to Shelton, he's like, I don't want to see the punter out there that much because that means something bad is happening.
Yeah. 100%.
And so I don't see why, okay, if we're going to get 4 yards, if you trust your punter and you have a good enough punter, put the ball in the air.
Yeah, drawing up a play running a play on third down that is designed to get less yardage than you need to get for the third down, unless somebody breaks free, is silly to me. Passes behind the sticks on third down it's going to send my husband into an early grave, honestly, is that is one of his biggest pet peeves. But you shouldn't rely on something breaking to be able to get that third down. You need to draw it up so that if it works, it is designed to get at least what you need. And then if it breaks open from there, great. But don't design it. If you need 6, don't design it for 4 and you just hope that he's going to be able to, break a tackle or something like that. That doesn't compute to me either.
Right. I think a big thing too is I don't think we've had a defense like we have coming into this year, at least not a called defense like we're going to this year. I think we've had talent out there. I think Florida always has talent on defense. And I think that plays a big part into not, with Austin Armstrong, no knock to him. But I think when he was calling the plays, you kind of saw that. I don't think Billy trusted.
Yeah.
I think he knew we got to punt this ball as far as we can because I got to have some type of leeway.
Yeah.
I think we go for it a lot more this year. Like we take a lot more risk on third down because of the defense we have.
What you have. I mean, I think the switch to Ron Roberts, and again, this is a guess, but when we saw the turnaround midseason, my guess is that that's when Ron Roberts started calling the defense instead of Austin Armstrong. And we saw a different fire, a different energy. Guys were flying around. The improvement that happened was somewhat astounding. And I do expect that defense to stay aggressive. And,
Mm-hmm.
maybe it surprised them too. And that's why, like, we didn't see the play calling necessarily change as we saw the defense change. We did see, I think, a different play calling for DJ than we saw for Graham. But you're right. They should have a lot more confidence in what they're putting on the field this year on defense, and that maybe gives you a little more room to try some stuff on offense. You don't have to be as safe.
Right. And I think a big thing too is that Lagway is that type of talent that even if you have a subpar play calling, I feel like he can make it look a lot like he makes you look like a genius.
Oh,
Kind
yeah.
of like Cam Newton did, in Auburn. It's like, well, is he really a good offensive mind, or is this player just that special?
Well, that's what people, wonder about Jameis Winston and
Mhm.
Jimbo Fisher. Is that the same kind of concept? You had a player that did he make the coach look good, or did the coach make the player? And but DJ Lagway is that type of talent where he's going to make whoever is coaching him look like a genius lots of
Right.
the time.
I mean, you don't coach throwing a full on defensive lineman off you and then still
No,
completing a pass down. You
no,
can't coach that.
no.
And so that's where I'm like, I get it, but I think that Billy is learning. I think that, this is a whole different atmosphere, but he knows how to recruit, and we
Oh,
recruited depth.
yeah.
So which room are you most excited to see this season?
That's a great question. On offense, it's running backs, and on defense, it's linebackers. I think that our linebacker room is stacked. Got Pup back today, took that non-contact jersey on, and I off. I mean, I just think that room is so talented. I think there's no egos involved, and I think it's so deep. So I'm
Right.
excited to see what they can do.
Yeah, I think I have a couple. It keeps changing, I'll be honest, because I'm just like excited to see this team as a whole. But the more that I'm paying attention to fall practice, I want to see our corners. Honestly, I want to see. I think Cormani plays a lot more than we expect.
Yeah, I think so too. And his story, if he does play the amount that we're hoping that maybe he does, what a cool kind of just life turnaround story, and what a feather in Billy Napier's cap. Look what he can do that Deion Sanders could not.
Right. That's a huge thing too. I've talked about this a couple of times on my recorded show. I do a player spotlight, and he was one of them, where it's just like, I think that there's people who just cannot be in the limelight. Like, I'll be honest. I think that there's players who even go into the NFL, and when they go to a place like a New York or an LA or, these big cities,
Yeah.
or even like a Dallas, where it's like that light is so massive there that it doesn't work out. And that's what you get in Colorado. I mean, it's not just a football team, it's a show.
I think Deion is somewhat of a child himself too. And these are 17, 18, 19-year-old kids, right? And they need somebody to guide them as a father figure, somebody to understand that they're still learning and figure out a way to reach them where they are, essentially. And I think Billy Napier does an incredible job of that. I think that he cares about these players outside of football and gets to know them outside of football. I don't know that I believe that Deion Sanders does that, at least not for everybody. He might do that for his star guys, but I don't know that he does that for his entire team. And I think Napier does do that for his entire team. And I don't think that Deion is mature enough to not be somewhat threatened by some of these kids too. And so I just don't think that's a great mix. It's not. You're going to have to send fully grown, mature men to Deion so that he's not developing them as a person.
Right.
And I think that's what Cormani needed, and that's something Billy Napier does maybe better than anybody else.
Yeah, I think you hit that right on the head. Is that I also feel like Deion obviously has an ego, and that's a big thing. But when it comes to having an ego, I think that he's like, you can be really, really good, but just not me good.
100%.
And so when you start, and not that I'm not saying that Cormani is even, I mean, he's a Hall of Famer for a reason, but Cormani is also the type, I think, now that he's here, and I also think he got humbled by, okay, you have to be a
Too.
walk-on.
Yep.
And, like I said, I've talked about this. I, live like 40 minutes from where he went to high school. I went and watched a numerous when he was at Kathleen, and then he I'm sorry, he was at Lake Gibson, and then he transferred and went to Lakeland. But he was a star there, and a problem with him being a star there is that he never had. I watched him, sling someone out of bounds, get a 15-yard penalty thrown on him. He goes over to the sideline, laughing and joking about it, and not a single coach comes and says anything about it.
And that is, you see that going from high school to college so much when they're coming from these small rural towns, right? When you play your high school football in Lakeland, every shop closes down and everybody in town is either at Lakeland or at Kathleen or, wherever watching Friday night football. It's why NIL does better in these small rural towns than it does in, like, I live in Tampa. It does better than it does in Tampa high school NIL, because nobody in Tampa cares to buy a car from some high school player that's hawking it. But in Lakeland, they'll line up to do it. And so that is hard. You're such a big fish in a small pond. You're used to people, fangirling over you, for lack of a better word. And then you go to a place where you are one of many, and you're now in a giant ocean, and you're being told what to do, what to eat, what time to be places, all of these things that, you probably didn't even have to go to class in Lakeland. You go to Colorado and they're telling you, this is your schedule. You're going to meet with your academic advisor these days. Your tutor is these days. Here's what you're eating at trading table. You don't have a choice at it. All of those things are really hard to adjust to from what he came from. Right. And you can either acknowledge that and have some grace in the growth that is required, which is what I'm guessing Billy Napier did, or you can be intolerant of it, which is what we saw from Dion, which is ironic because I guarantee you Dion came in the same way Cormani did.
Right. I think a big thing you see with him too is just like the working on the houses. Like, you see the pictures, so like Gators Football posted and stuff, and them out there doing like the different charity work and stuff. And like, I think you can see when somebody wants to be there. And I know it's just snippets and things like that, but I'm like, he just looks in the sense of that. I think everybody around him, and not even just the DBs, but I think because he was around to Jason Marshall last year, but then you got Tyreek Sapp in that defensive room, George Gums, and these are guys that I feel like it's a me show in Colorado, whereas Florida, you see that they did not break not once last year. I mean, like Logan said with the SEC, Netflix series, you watched it in that episode that I'm like, they did not break not once. And when you got a bunch of me, that's what you're going to be. You're going to be about yourself. Like, how can I get to the NFL and make the money or make the money here? Yeah. But then you come to Florida where I'm like, I think everybody on that team is just like, it's one machine just rolling forward, wanting to win. And if you don't fit into that, you're going to get pushed out. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think it was a very low risk chance that he took on Cormani, because if it works out, amazing, you look like a genius, which I think is where we're going to. If it doesn't work out, you let him in as a walk-on and then he's gone, and that's fine. And I think that he was so confident in the culture that he being Napier, that Napier had at Florida, that he was willing to take that gamble because it is so strong that there is no way that one person was going to come in and sour it. But there is a great chance that it being so strong was going to kind of gobble that person up and get them to swim the same direction, so to speak.
Right. I think it just falls back into like the, Trevor Etienne. I think that he was that kind of guy, and the fans were a part of it, rightfully so. Every time he touched the ball, we're like, well, he's gaining this many yards. He's doing this. And then, Montrell wasn't doing as much. But I think that there's also there's a sour taste there when you are a me player, whereas like we just talked about, at the beginning of this, that running back room there. I don't feel like if one person gets, 20 yards, they keep them in, they end up going down the field, or even if this person gets all the way down the field, they're exhausted, and this next player comes in and scores, they're celebrating with each other just as hard. Whereas, again, with an ETN that was there, I think that it was more of like a sour attitude, like, why am I not scoring? Yeah. It's a huge thing when it comes to just being a team. And that's something I think a lot of credit isn't given to, is that Billy was around a Clemson. He was around a Bama. Those are powerhouse teams. Whereas, sometimes the me player can work out, but I feel like Georgia's full of a bunch of me players. And I think you kind of see where they're still a good team, but they don't seem to be, they're not what Bama was.
Yeah. Well, I think the difference between a championship team and a championship program is what you're talking about. I think you can win a one-off with some me guys. I think you can't do what Bama did and build that dynasty with some me guys. And I think there's a chance that Kirby is falling into the trap that honestly Urban fell into, which is you get to the top and then you have to figure out how to stay there. And sometimes you think that staying there requires compromising on the things that got you there. I'll give you an example. Janoris Jenkins, when Mullen came in, when Muschamp came in, he kicked him off the team. It's because he failed like his 4th drug test. And essentially what he said to him, my brother played on the team at this time. And like, I remember this so vividly. And he essentially said, you can go to rehab or you're off the team. And Janoris said to him, Urban Meyer would never make this choice because Urban Meyer knows how to win. And I think that is, maybe a little microcosm of what started to go wrong at Florida towards the end. And that may be something that Georgia is seeing, because it is difficult now, particularly in this NIL time, to keep those egos in check once you have won so much. And that's something that Saban has always been a master of. There was not egos on those teams. You had really great players. Some of them were flashy, but nobody thought they were bigger than the machine that is Alabama. And so, whatever that secret sauce is, he should bottle it up and share, because nobody else has been able to replicate it in the same way that Saban did.
Right. And we may never see it again with the NIL, but I think that if you can consistently, like a Ryan Day and these different players these different coaches that, like you said, find a way to stay at the top. I get it. Ryan Day has like dropped some and things like that. But
Ryan Day, they had to come up with money to pay their team to have them not walk in the playoffs. And then Ohio State, I mean, it is astounding when there are rumors of Ryan Day should be out. All of the unrest that happened for them to end up winning a national title is somewhat astounding. But even they had some unrest. It is not, and maybe it's just the era we're in, and maybe we're never going to see an Alabama, like you said, ever again. But keeping the egos in check is absolutely a key to continued success.
Right. Yeah. I think it's going to be hard to, I don't know. Everybody says like, oh, they paid under the table. They did this. I don't know what they did, nor do I really care, but Billy said when he got here, and I'm a huge advocate of this, I talk about it so much, is that when his opening press conference, you can go find it on YouTube, you can watch it, and he made a comment, you're going to get frustrated at me, but I have to clean it up. And I think where the misunderstanding of that was with Gators fans is we're like, well, Mullen was a winner. And it's like, well, yeah, Mullen was a winner with this level right here. So he had a team, but when he loses Trask and he loses Kyle Pitts, it's like, well, what's falling in behind that? And I'm not knocking Mullen, because I liked Mullen as a OC. I think Mullen is one of the best offensive minds ever. The difference is now, do we want to lose to Dallas Wilson? No, we don't want to lose him, because everybody has in their brain that this is going to be our Jeremiah Smith.
Yeah.
But this roster has been built so strong top to bottom that I'm like, again, I don't want anybody to get hurt. I want everybody to stay healthy, everyone to shine. But if someone does go down, it is like those teams from past that I grew up with. And I'm like, okay, this person got hurt, next man up, and you don't have to worry about it.
I think each new head coach sets out to fix problems from the previous regime. And sometimes that creates new problems. And I always tell the story about Mullen. And I am a Mullen person. I would have given Mullen more time. There's so much that was going on behind the scenes. But Eric and I went to Florida, LSU. I guess it would have been 2018, whatever it was, his first LSU game. And it was the first time we'd seen Mullen since he was back as head coach. We came up on Friday with our 2 daughters and went to walkthroughs. And he immediately was like, oh, guys, come on in. And then he stayed in the practice facility and talked to us for like 45 minutes afterwards. One of the things he told us was that he inherited a locker room that was afraid of winning afraid of losing. They didn't love winning. They were afraid of losing. And he felt like it was his job to make sure that they knew that football was fun and that they were so lucky to get to play this game, at this university. And so he had perceived that McElwain's laws were essentially that he had ruined football for these guys, that it wasn't fun, that they were just scared of getting yelled at for losing. They didn't enjoy winning, and that it was his job to make football fun again. Fast forward to where we were when Napier took over. I think that he was cleaning up problems created by what was originally a great premise, which was make sure these guys know that football is fun.
Right.
And I also think Mullen was dealing with a lot of no's from the university. Like I can remember him saying he really wanted to do black jerseys, but the UAA wouldn't let him, and they kept pushing him on it. So then Napier gets to do black jerseys his very first season. Mullen had to be like, right. And then same thing, the athlete dorms, that apartment complex. That didn't get negotiated in 2 weeks, and Napier just happened to get to announce it 2 weeks into his tenure. That was a Mullen thing. He had recognized that these student dorms were atrocious, and this deal had been in the works for months and months and months, but they got to present it as a Napier win, which they should have. That's a great, beautiful PR move. But so many of those things, and Mullen was dealing with the dawn of NIL, and Florida brass was incredibly against NIL when Mullen was there. And I remember sitting with Bernal Brown, who was on Florida's staff at the time. And he's like, you have no idea how hard it is to recruit when a kid comes in and says, well, Georgia offered me this, Alabama offered me this. What are you going to give me to even show up on campus for this visit? And it was prior to the system we have now. So that wasn't legal, but we were kind of transitioning into NIL. So it was such an incredibly hard time to be a coach at UF. But all of that being said, I think Napier is a better recruiter. I honestly think he would have been a better head coach probably during like the Urban Meyer era, because relationships mattered so much then. And he still makes them matter to a degree now, but so much of it's about money. But Napier is such a relationship person, and he's out recruited his record every single year, which is difficult to do.
Yeah, I got the chance to meet Mullen. He came to a city that actually is, it's not too far from here, called Sebring. And I got to meet him and Todd Grantham. And that's I gained a soft spot for Mullen. I got a chance to, be around some of the players when he was there. And there were some comments those players made about why they disliked Mullen, but they liked, McElwain. And their reasoning for it, I was like, I feel like this is such an immature answer. And so I don't know if it was a Mullen thing where I felt like he, again, when it started to go downhill, like the locker room, he lost it. Yeah. And I don't know if that was, again, that's a top to bottom depth thing. And like you said, it's an NIL thing, but that's been my biggest question. Why did he lose the locker room?
I think he was checked out himself. And when you're checked out yourself, you lose. I think he was so frustrated with so many things going on internally with UF, and that he shut down mentally. And then you can't keep a locker room if you can't. His biggest mistake, though, was probably not firing Todd Grantham the year before.
100%.
Had he done that, and I have not been a Todd Grantham fan since he was at Georgia. I don't know if you'll remember this, but Florida, Georgia, Chaz Henry had to come in and kick. I want to say it was Caleb Sturgis, and he was hurt. And it was a game-winning field goal. And Grantham is on the sidelines doing like a throat chop to Chaz, taunting him as he's out there. Chaz made it, and we won. But I mean, Chaz was like a 20-year-old kid playing a position he doesn't play because his team had an injury, and you've got an adult out there, throat slashing him. Like I wrote Todd Grantham off from that moment. But that was probably Mullen's, fatal mistake, right? Was not getting rid of Grantham the season before. Had he done that, I mean, he in theory could still be the coach of the University of Florida. Mullen would do great in the NIL era.
Right.
But I don't know. But I like Napier, and I want Napier to succeed.
Mm-hmm.
I think rooting against the head coach of your football program is like rooting against the pilot on a plane that you're on.
Right.
I want him to be successful. I love that I think he's a great person that's mentoring our players. But I also want to win.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want it to be that every single star has to align for Florida to get a 9-win season.
Right.
I want 9-win season to be the floor.
Right.
And so, we have a tough schedule. We got to stay healthy. If we stay healthy with this roster and we don't get 9 wins, I cannot imagine being able to point to anything but coaching.
Right. So what do you think our record is going to be? Because see, with me, I can't pick it because I'm biased. I will say undefeated.
No, I don't say undefeated. I think Florida wins at least 9 games. And I think 10 games is actually pretty reasonable.
Mm-hmm.
I think what happens the first 4 is going to be a really, interesting test. You go 4-0 in September. That's a pretty damn strong, prediction of what's to come.
Right.
I don't think anybody bats an eye if you lose to Texas or Georgia. I think you win the games you should win first. Worry about those first. Beat Long Island, beat USF, beat Mississippi State, beat Kentucky. I think beat Tennessee, beat Ole Miss. Those in my mind are 100% should win games.
Right.
I would probably even put Texas A&M in that as well. That gets you to 7.
Right.
So then from there, and actually Florida State, 8. So then from there, LSU, Texas, Georgia. Who else am I forgetting? Miami. Those 4. Can you win 2 of those 4?
I believe so.
You can.
I think we handle Miami, honestly. Yeah. See, I think that a couple of things, and it's just watching. I don't know. I haven't seen a full season of a Ron Roberts called defense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But we have, I mean, it goes back to Mullen. And just back when there's a running quarterback on the opposite side of us, we tend to almost freeze up. Like we don't know what we're doing.
Yeah.
So that's why Texas, the Arch can run a little bit. Again, I want to see how Texas does. He's got to show me.
Yeah. They're where they are based on hype around him.
Right.
For sure. We haven't actually seen it yet.
Right. Which he said, but you got to show me that when you go out there and the going gets tough, because I'm sorry, but you throw as many interceptions to Florida as you did to ULM, you're not going to have the same result. Like it's going to be, we're going to pile on the scoring.
Yeah.
So I feel like for me, and that's because I don't know, we'll find out week 1 what Texas has. Can we win in Death Valley? Can you win going into LSU at night against this team that, they basically bought out of the transfer portal, but still it's a squad. And that's the telltale for me. That's the game that I'm looking at and I circle.
Hired the same year that you were, and I think that there's a lot of, there's a lot of comparables between Florida and LSU, but it is, in my opinion, the toughest place to play in the country. I've been to Austin. I've been to pretty much every SEC venue. I think Death Valley is it. I would put the Swamp and Death Valley up there. I don't think that Knoxville compares. I don't think that Bryant-Denny compares. I think it is Death Valley at night. But what will be really interesting to see is what happens after that game. Because if you win, can you carry that momentum on, go in and beat Miami? I think if they beat LSU, they clobber Miami.
Oh, yeah.
But if you lose to LSU, what is this team made of? Can you pull yourself up from what's going to be a very physical game and turn it around in 6 days and seek some revenge from a team that walked all over you the year before? We almost beat Carson Beck when he was leading a much better team in Georgia. I am not scared of Carson Beck.
Me neither.
I'm not scared of Mario. There's going to be more Gator fans down there than Miami fans, so I'm certainly not scared of the environment. There's zero reason we shouldn't win that game, but it's going to be a look in the mirror game. Your coach has been hired the same amount of time. You've recruited at pretty much exactly the same clip.
Right.
You play in a better conference than they do, and you take care of business. And if you can't, that's a problem. If you can, you're going to win a lot of games the rest of the season.
Right. I think, like you said it perfect too, is like, if we lose it, if we drop a game, right? Say we drop that LSU game. And I got two things on this. I'm like on this side, and then I'm also on this side. If we lose a game, how do they turn it around and get back to like, okay, we're still the team that we were, destined to be at the beginning of the season? Because if you have that hype, the players start to buy into that hype. They start to get that feeling. So then when they do lose, I think that's where like Ohio State dropped a game. So, they dropped 2 games during the season, right? Then they lose to Oregon and Michigan.
No, they lost to Indiana, didn't they? Who did they lose to?
I thought it was, I can't remember now off the top of my head. I think Ohio State dropped 2 games. I want to say that it was
right now
Oregon in the regular season, because Dan Lanning pulled that stunt.
I somehow typed in 2014 instead of 2024. Let's see. All right. Ohio State results. This is taking forever here, but
technology.
Okay. They lost to Oregon and they lost to Michigan. You're correct. I don't know. I was thinking Indiana, but yep, they lost to both of those. Michigan, honestly, beating them the amount of, what was it, 2 or 3 in a row is somewhat astounding.
It is.
That's enough to get you fired.
I know. Well, I mean, one of my best friends is from Ohio. He is a diehard Buckeyes fan. And when they lost to Michigan, I mean, he was just, the Fire Ryan days that were coming through our group chat, I was like, oh my goodness. But, I think that's the big thing is you saw that they never, even though they lost, they never they stayed in the fight. And again,
Florida did last year too, I think. And that's, there is the fact that this locker room wasn't lost after the first 6 games of the season. Everyone, I know I was calling for a coaching change. There's the start to the season was horrific. And the fact that they did not throw in the towel and they were able to turn it around like they were is honestly astounding.
I
and
wore
that
this.
Be helpful.
I wore that to the Swamp because I was so mad after the Miami game. But it's, and he got me right back. He had me drinking the Kool-Aid again. But I think the reason I want to know how it's going to be this season is because last season they were written off. It was like Billy's going to be fired. All the players saw that. They all, fought for him.
Yeah.
But even before the season last year, we didn't have – we got a different type of hype this year. And I told my brother walking up to the Swamp to play Ole Miss, I was like, this feeling here, it feels like – I know, Joe. I'm sorry. I do. I can't get rid of it just because. I need Billy to sign it one day. But I said it has the feeling of the – 08 Gators. Not that they're that talented, but it's just like there was a different feeling in Gainesville. And again, honestly, I have that because I'm superstitious and I don't want to get rid of it because we started winning after I wore it. But, that's what I want to see. I want to see how this team I feel like with the schedule we drop. As much as I want to say undefeated, and I'll tell those lies.
12-0, a grand total of 1 time in their 120-year history. So the odds are against 12-0. But how do you handle? And with the playoffs, you don't have to go 12-0. This schedule and 9 wins gets you into the playoffs unless something crazy happens.
Right.
So take care of the games you should, and split the games that are toss-ups.
Yeah. 10-2. I think 9-3 with this schedule gets you into the playoffs.
I do.
But I have been a firm believer. I say this, in any of it, in any type of sport, UFC fights, whatever, do not leave it to the refs. Don't leave it to the judges. Don't leave it to who. This isn't a computer-based system anymore. This is
Yep.
a group of humans that get in there, and if they don't feel like you should get in, you're not getting in. So 10-2, I'm sorry, but there is just no denying this team at 10-2, especially if, say, those losses are to LSU and Texas or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
You don't deny this team.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can't. I'm like I'm so ready. I can't. I keep checking Twitter every single day. And this has been huge for me, just, with the podcast and kind of getting me over the hump for the season. But I'm like, I'm ready.
Yeah.
I'm so ready. So you're going to the Florida Texas game?
Oh, absolutely. I'll go to every home game. We have season tickets. We'll go to every game unless one of our children has a sporting event that interferes, essentially. Actually, I
Understood.
take that back. I won't go to Mississippi State only because it's Pig Jig here in Tampa, which is a huge barbecue contest, and my husband and my brother-in-law compete in it every year.
sweet.
So we will be there. But every other game, I will be in the stadium. I think I'm going to go to Ole Miss this year. We might go to LSU. We'll have to see. And I am going to go to the Miami game for sure. So
Okay. I want to go to an LSU game, but my wife has said that it's probably not a good idea for me to go to a game like that just because I got a little rowdy with the Florida Ole Miss game. So I'm like, I probably shouldn't go.
It is a bucket list place for sure. One of my daughters has a gymnastics meet that weekend. So we were trying. I don't know that we can swing it. But it is I love staying in New Orleans, driving over for the game, going back to Bourbon Street. I love that we only are there every other year because you need that amount of time to, recover. But it is a bucket list place to see a game at night. It is so cool.
Yeah, I want to go. So I'd love to go to like LSU, Bama, something like just some crazy.
You don't have a dog in the fight. You're just seeing the.
Exactly. That's why I've said I want to go to every SEC stadium, but I don't want to go there when the Gators are playing because I get a little too passionate and I get real loud and rowdy, and I just don't think it's a good idea.
Come sit by me. I love loud and rowdy. There's times where I'm like,
yeah, it was bad. Like we were sitting over here last year, and then someone came and they're like, "You're in the wrong seats," and then they moved us closer to the Ole Miss fans, and I'm like, "Oh, here we go." Yeah, I was like, "I love this. Let's do it. Let's get in this."
Go.
But yeah, no, I thank you for coming on. Chopping up. There's a lot you taught me tonight. So, thank you for giving me some time and coming on.
Absolutely. Anytime, for sure. This was fun. And I'm excited. This is going to be a good season for Gator fans, I think.
It is. I'm trying to be positive. I'm not going to be a negative Nancy. I'm going to try to be positive as I can because I'm not a Disney Gator, as Shelton says. I'm more of I can be a little bit on the negative side. So I'm going to try to be positive this year. We got the hype going from the basketball team. So we're going to see what we can get.
Winning begets winning. So I do think that influences things too.
Yeah, big time. We'll let everybody know where they can find you. We got 38 people in here.
You can find me on X at @Allie_Peak, PEEK, which I finally got that account back. It was hacked back in February. It was like an odyssey to get it back. And on YouTube, A Peek Inside Gators Football. Lots of cool stuff over there. But I appreciate it. This was fun.
Yeah, no, thank you so much. And thank you guys for hanging out with us. I saw one question real quick. What's your thoughts on Florida's ranking in the coaches poll real fast before we go?
I hope that it's plastered all over the inside facility. I think it's wild that there are teams that Florida beat at the end of the season kept out of the playoffs that are ranked ahead of them, particularly when we return more. I'm talking about, Ole Miss and LSU. Those teams are also so transfer portal heavy that it's so hard to tell what they have. So how do you think that they are better than a team that's returning so many critical pieces? But I think they should use it as fuel. I'm anti-poll until week 6. I think that it's just a money grab. They wanted number 1 Texas, number 2 Ohio State, which is why these polls come out, bring in the revenue. But nobody has any real idea what anybody has until you hit the grass in late August. So I don't think it should ruin anybody's day, but I do hope they're using it as fuel for the players.
Yeah, I kind of wish that we'd be even a little further back than 17. Put us in the 20s.
Disrespect us. Go for it.
Yeah, I love it. Put that fuel in that fire and let's just, let's hit the ground running. But yeah, thank you guys for hanging out with us tonight. Allie, thank you so very much. Everybody go follow her, subscribe to her. And you guys know if you ain't a Gator, y'all know the rest.